Thanks, Peter. All right, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi claims that she's cleaned house on Capitol Hill when it comes to corruption.
When I came in, we said we'll drain the swamp, and we did. We passed the most sweeping ethics reform in the history of the Congress.
But with Democrats Charlie Rangel and Maxine Waters both facing ethics charges now, has Pelosi really followed through on that pledge? Joining us for a fair and balanced debate, Democratic strategist Matthew Littman and Independent Women's Forum senior fellow Sabrina Schaeffer. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so Nancy Pelosi is obviously known for having her finger on the pulse of Capitol Hill. She's known as being very shrewd and strategic. So this weekend, Matthew, when she said, I'm out of the loop, I don't really know what's happening with Charlie Rangel, is that plausible?
Absolutely. She set up an independent congressional ethics commission, which is by its very nature independent, and they brought very strong charges against Charlie Rangel, much stronger charges than anyone had previously expected. And they're willing to hold a hearing right before the elections with Congressman Rangel, which I think all speaks to how seriously Congresswoman Pelosi takes these charges. I think it's very impressive that Nancy Pelosi has been able to get this ethics commission to do what it's supposed to do. Before this, the ethics commissions oversaw Congress like the SEC oversaw Wall Street. It was kind of a wink and a nod. I think it's very impressive what Speaker Pelosi's been able to do.
Sabrina, Matthew makes some compelling points. They do seem to be taking a more stringent tact with Charlie Rangel than they have with some in the past. What's your response?
Well, I'm just not sure they're going to be able to do that much. It's really hard to separate, in my opinion, the corruption from the Democratic policies. This is a party that is really way too comfortable taking money from hardworking Americans and giving it to their friends. They're too comfortable sort of giving exemptions to their buddies and apparently to themselves on the burdensome regulations and taxes that the rest of us endure. So I think that Nancy Pelosi might want a clean shot, but the fact is she sort of waved her hand at this and said, look, this is just a violation of House rules, which, as I see it, this is a violation of the law.
And Matthew, it sounds like Sabrina's saying this is a Democratic Party issue. Do you want to respond to that?
Well, first of all, I agree with Sabrina that if it's a violation of the law, they should be prosecuted as if it's a violation of law, not as if they just broke House rules. I agree with that, and I don't understand why it would be otherwise. I agree with her on that. But second of all, I think it's pretty impressive what the Democrats have been able to do in terms of policing the Congress. I think it's actually great what Speaker Pelosi is able to do, and I think it's unlike things we've seen before. But I think Sabrina will agree with me that part of the problem here is that you get members of Congress who are in safe districts. They've been around for a long period of time, and they seem to treat Congress as if it's their birthright to be a member of Congress and not a privilege.
Let me read to you what Congressman John Boehner has said about this. He says it's a sad day when the U.S. House of Representatives has to sit in trial of one of its own members. It's one of the biggest broken promises from Speaker Pelosi and her team, who promised to drain the swamp. Sabrina, has Speaker Pelosi failed at draining the swamp?
Well, I think it's going to take a lot more than, Speaker Pelosi. Look, we have a long sort of list of people here, from Robert Torricelli to, Secretary of the Treasury Tim Geithner. We had Congressman Murtha before he passed. I mean, there's been sort of a continuous stream of Democratic lawmakers who don't take tax evasion seriously. And I think that the American public is aware of that. Voters are aware of that. And this whole episode is going to sort of turbocharge the already very mounting support for the GOP come November.
Matthew, final word?
Yeah, I think Sabrina is just speaking really in a partisan way here. I could list the number of Republicans who've gotten into trouble, and the list is obviously extremely long. That's why the Democrats are able to take over the Congress.
All right, Matthew Littman, Sabrina Schaeffer, thanks so much for joining us for a debate this morning.
Thank you.